If you need a sign of how busy Michael Lombardi is right now, the man walked in here with 2 cell phones and he was on both of them.
That's right.
I've never seen anyone actively utilizing 2 cell phones. That was very impressive. Carolina's brand new general manager. Michael, thanks so much for being here. How have these last few days been?
You know, they've been incredible. It's been remarkable, the reception that Coach Belichick has gotten from everybody here at the university, starting with Chancellor Roberts to Bubba Cunningham and then all the support staff. It's really been remarkable. And the enthusiasm that has permeated around the campus has driven us. And so our job is to put a good product on the field, and that's been really exciting. So it's been wonderful. It's really been great. It's a great experience. I'm really looking forward to it.
Michael, can you just give us a quick snapshot for folks who maybe don't know of your history with Coach Belichick and why he is someone who is important to you, and why are you somebody that's important to him?
Well, you know, we both started in the league a long time ago. He started in 1978. I started in 84, and we both crossed paths in Cleveland in 1991, and we formed a friendship that was predicated on my ability in personnel and his ability in coaching. When he came to Cleveland in 1991, we both didn't know each other at the time, but we were both really excited about building a team, and that friendship has lasted until now. And so I think philosophically we both share the same vision, the same ideas on how to build a team, how to win a championship, how the team is more important than individuals. And you know, and it's gotten stronger over the years. And his success in Cleveland, which we did go to a playoff game in '94, and then ultimately the 6 Super Bowls going to 8 in 19 during his career at the Patriot Way, really reinforced it. And part of my journey in the NFL to be reunited with him in 14 and win 2 more Super Bowls was really the cap to my career. And now this kind of starts another chapter that we're really looking forward to working together.
What do you if you could sum up that philosophy of building a team, and is that we need these type of players? Yeah. Is it this kind of culture? What would that be?
Well, that's a great question, Jones. You know, so in 1991, we had a little office in a little town called Bree, Ohio, and Coach Belichick had just got done his press conference and announced as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And he walked into my office and he handed me a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, which I'll give to the Hall of Fame when he goes into it, it said, "We are building a big, fast, physical football team that can play in any kind of weather, that's mentally and physically tough and can control the middle of the field." And that's what we're going to build at North Carolina, a big, fast, physical football team that can play in any kind of weather and control the middle of the field. And so that's been the journey since 1991. And so when you scout and when you try to find players, you don't scout outside in, you scout inside out. You know, I say this all the time. The FBI doesn't open up a phone book to look for a serial killer, right? They have a profile. So we're going to profile every single player that we're looking for, and every player will meet that criteria. We want smart, we want dependable, we want tough, we want intelligent, we want football intelligence, and we want character. And so that's how we'll start this journey to rebuild this program. And we've got some really good baseline elements here within what Coach Brown has done, so we're going to build on that.
I've heard you say that inside-out phrase a couple times now. How does that work with the players who are on the team? How do you start learning about them? Do you need to see them on the field, or is that not necessary?
No, well, we have tape. That's the great thing about football. You watch them on tape, and then, you know, you have to give them an opportunity to express themselves. Sometimes in coaching, you're either coaching or allowing it to happen. And so Coach Belichick will demand, and if the players want to respond. When he came in Cleveland in 1991, we had a couple defensive linemen, Anthony Pleasant and Rob Burnett, who were not drafted by Coach Belichick. And when Bill walked in the building, he wasn't sure about them. They weren't sure about him. But they got on the program, and Anthony ended up playing for Bill in New England years later, and Rob Burnett went on to have a tremendous career at the Baltimore Ravens when they moved the team from Cleveland. So it's really about the players' adaptation to the culture and to wanting to be the best that they can be, putting the team first, doing what's right for the team that may not be right for them.
This probably isn't accurate for every single player, but in the NFL, for the most part, physically, you've got a finished product. Not to say guys can't get stronger and things like that, but for the most part, they're grown men at that point.
Yeah.
At least some of the players in college, the younger ones, are not close to a finished product. How does that change how you scout or try to figure out who works?
Well, there's 4 kind of scouts, right? So this is written in a book, one of the great books about scouting. was written by Mark Weingartner. It's about a scout named Tony Lucadella who found Mike Schmidt in Dayton, Ohio, or Fosteria, Ohio, actually. And he classified scouts in 4 areas: the poor scout who can't evaluate anybody, the production scout who only sees production, the performance scout who only grades what the player does, and then the projection scout, the scout that sees a player and projects them forward. Well, that's what we have to do. But we have to develop the player to fit the system. So that's why it's so important that we scout inside out. We find a player that fits what we do, and then we develop the skills from within. So what Coach Walsh taught me, and when I worked for the 49ers, was always the first year we'll teach them the system, the second year we'll develop the skills within the system. And the skills have to be there before you bring them in the building. The idea of scouting is to learn more about the player before he gets there than after he gets there. Mm-hmm. So that's why we're constantly trying to fit a square part in a square hole. We want the player to fit, and then we'll develop the skills from within. But player development is part of the salary cap. That's part of what makes the salary cap effective. You can't pay everybody, right? I'm a fat guy. I want to eat all the donuts, but I can't, right? So you got to pick out a donut, and then you're going to have to cut back on some. So it's the same thing in building a cap, right? You got to figure out who you want, and then you got to develop from within. And you got to take those young players and work them. You'll see when you come to our practice that we'll have what we call, an opportunity period. So we'll have our practice, and then some of the players will go inside, and you'll be watching us practice 10, 15 more plays for those young players who need those reps, who need them. And then at the end of the year, we'll sit here in the offices and we'll have 1,000 plays on player Y that he had in that opportunity period. And we could say, okay, this player is going to need this, this, and this. He needs to do this, this, and this, because every player is different. And development takes, to make that difference, we have to develop the skills for that player. Some guys can bench 400 pounds. So do they really need to bench? Right? And some guys can't. So we're the guy that might need stretching and the other guy may need benching. So you can't have one program fit all. And that's where player development comes in. That's the critical aspect of this whole program. That's actually the secret sauce in New England. That's why, people would often say, how does he end up playing with all these? He develops the players from within.
Because of the appeal of the program and the appeal of the organization you're setting up, and from what we hear, you're getting a ton of calls from players who want to be part of this.
Right.
You're going to have to tell some people no. Mm-hmm. What has your experience taught you are things that don't work for players on a Bill Belichick coach team? What are some of the non-negotiables that once you see this, you say, okay, we're not going down that road?
Well, look, every question we ask a player, we know the answer to. We're just trying to see what his level of honesty is. And so when a player comes in and says, that he wants to win the Heisman and, he wants to go first pick overall in the draft, those are 2 great goals. But we're interested in winning a championship. And so tell us what you really want to do. If you want to win a championship first, or I might say to a young man, what is your greatest achievement in high school? And if he says, well, I scored 36 points against Pinehurst High School, right? Meanwhile, his team won a national championship. I think we'll probably move on that guy.
Like, why? I don't know Coach Belichick past a brief interaction, but he seems like it would be hard to earn his trust. That's just my opinion. How have you earned his trust? Because he clearly trusts you.
Well, I think you earn trust over time. Like players earn their trust. Every day is a new day. Coach was really influenced by the Naval Academy. He grew up around playing catch with Roger Staubach. And so he watched those players at Navy, and every day was a day to get better. And so that's part of the relationship that you have to have, is how do we get better every single day? And you get trust with Coach Belichick by trying to improve every day. But that's life. You have to improve every day. Winston Churchill has a great line. He says, to improve is to change, to be perfect is to change often. And so you've got to work on it all the time. And I think that's how you build trust. And that's what the players will do. That's what I have to do. Because even though we have a long career together, I don't look at it that way. I look at it every day. I got to improve.
When you say things like you just said a second ago about how we're not interested in scoring 36 points against Pinehurst, we're interested in winning championships. To be honest with you, that is a little bit of a mindset change for Carolina football. Those aren't words we're used to hearing thrown around all the time. How do you change that?
You change it by one day at a time. You change it by there's a thing you're either coaching it or allowing it to happen, right? So we're going to coach to a standard. If you read any of the books by Bill Walsh, if you read any of the greatness of Bill Belichick, there's a standard of excellence that has to be gotten to. It isn't about did we win. The score is irrelevant. It's what's the standard of excellence. In New England, if we played a bad game and won, the building was miserable. The building was miserable because that's not the standard. And where Coach Belichick does a great job is driving the standard. Everybody knows what the standard is. When I was in the 49ers, we would have a meeting with Coach Walsh once a month. And he reminded us what the standard of excellence was for your job, for my job, for the maintenance people, for the people who cut the grass. There was a standard of excellence. And if you walked by a pitcher that wasn't straight and you didn't straighten it, that's not the standard of excellence that he wanted. And so you have to do that. And so that's part of the conditioning of the players. We're not here to finish fourth in the ACC. We're here to compete for a championship.
What's happening right now? Obviously, Coach Belichick just announced a couple of days ago. You were announced officially on Tuesday of this week. What is happening like right now as you guys try to put all this together?
We're team building. We're trying to put together a team. We're looking at what do we need? What do we have? What don't we have? What do we have to supplement? The portal's wide open right now. There's a lot of players transferring, coming here, coming there. Our players, we have to get to know and talk to them. There's also the element of getting the team ready to go play in the Fenway Bowl up there against the UConn. So there's that part of the team that's going on, and then we have to try to keep recruiting, get back on some of these kids who are in high school that didn't declare at the initial signing date, to go back and evaluate them. But this is all about team building. Then it's all about setting up the program, because one of the things that I think is really important, you'll hear me say this quite often, is we're building a program. We're not building just one thing. Everything is going to come together, whether it's nutrition, whether it's the strength department, whether it's the academic side. All those things have to work in perfect harmony. We're going to make 1 + 1 = 3.
This general manager arrangement is second nature to you because you've been doing it your whole life. It's not something Carolina football has had as prominently as it is going to have now. Can you explain to folks how this organizational setup works?
We're going to do it exactly like a pro football team. We're going to have a general manager. My job is to help acquire talent, to build the team, to handle the salary cap, to evenly distribute the money and the funds that come through the NIL, to develop talent from within. That means teach scouts how to scout, develop our program from within, get our young scouts to learn what it takes to play in this program, to teach everybody the game of football, and to monitor that and to build the culture along with Coach Belichick, and then to supplement and help the team in any way you possibly can. So this isn't about development just for the players. It's about development for the staff. If you ever watch a documentary, Cleveland 95, I think you'll get a really good idea on the program that we built in Cleveland that had a lot of people that have gone on to have incredible success. Ozzie Newsome went from being a player to now one of the best general managers in football. When he came upstairs, he didn't know anything about that side of the ball. And then, from Eric Mangini to George Kokinis to Mike Tannenbaum to Scott Pioli to all these guys that have been there, they all learned how to, Thomas Dimitrov, who have gone on to have general manager jobs in the NFL. That's kind of what you want to build. You want to build a program that people want to steal from. People want to take your guys from. I mean, look, Alabama, when Nick Saban was with us in Cleveland, when he went to Michigan State, he took our scouting profile with him to Michigan State. Now, I'm sure he adjusted it through the years, but those two profiles, whether it was at Alabama or whether it was at New England, have won a lot of championships.
You've said salary cap a couple of times, and obviously that's a new world for college football, much more established in professional football. It's still a lot of money, but not the same amount of money that you're dealing with in the pros. How have you tried to start that process of figuring out that cap and how that money should be distributed at this level?
Well, it's the same. The thing goes to team building is who do you want to be, right? The fundamental question in any business that you have to ask and answer is who do we want to be? You don't go to In-N-Out Burger and try to get a chicken sandwich, right? That's who they are. They know who they are, right? You don't go, you don't try to go to Chick-fil-A and get a burger. You know who they are. So we're going to be who we want to be, and we're going to build it. So we're going to be built in the offensive defensive line. We're going to have a premier quarterback. We're going to have skilled players that can put the ball in the end zone. But the distribution of money that comes in goes to the areas of who you want to be. And that's how you really define it. And then it's supply and demand. It's just basic economics. There's a lot of linebackers. There may not be a lot of left tackles. So where do you have to put your money? Mm-hmm. You may be able to find a linebacker, but you can't find a left tackle. So you're going to pay the left tackle. You may have to pay the right tackle. You may have to pay the left guard. but maybe you can find a free safety that could play, that you could develop from within. So that's kind of how you have to answer it. It all goes back to the blueprint. One of the tenets of leadership is called management of attention. What's the plan? Right? And so the second step of leadership is called management of meaning. How do you explain the plan? Well, those are the two tenets of team building.
It's very clear that you know football. What do you know about Carolina? What do you know about Chapel Hill? What do you know about this place?
Well, I know there's a lot of great players that have been here. I mean, it's remarkable. It's really remarkable. I mean, first of all, you had the greatest defensive player in the history of the NFL play here that walked this campus for 4 years. I mean, that's a gift to anybody. And Lawrence Taylor. And then you have the incredible Julius Peppers who've been here. And you have so many great defensive linemen. Today, Greg Ellis just got in the Hall of Fame. He's remarkable. I mean, the list goes on and on. The amount of great players that have put on the Carolina Blue, it makes me feel like this is a special place. And, this notion that we're a basketball school, not a football school. No, we're a great school. That's got to be put aside. We're a great school. Women's soccer just won her 23rd championship. We're a great school, right? So I think that's really what you have to do, and you've got to honor the players. How do you create a sense of belonging if you don't honor the past? You must be able to do that, and I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to honor the players who've come before us and have sacrificed for Carolina football. And the only way we can honor them the best is by showing them the product that they would be proud of.
Listening to you talk about the setup, it's easy to imagine next offseason a lot of ACC teams saying, we're going to do what they did. When everyone starts trying to copy you, how do you stay ahead of everyone who wants to replicate what you do?
You just work as hard as you possibly can and improve your craft. But I think to me it's got to come from I think a lot of times people wanted to copy the Patriot way but didn't understand it completely. It takes a unique leader, and that's what North Carolina just hired, is one of the greatest coaches of all time in any sport. Vince Lombardi taught men's basketball at St. Cecilia's High School in Englewood High School in New Jersey. He didn't even know anything about basketball. He went over there and studied it out of a book, and they ended up winning, competing for a state championship. Bill could coach any sport and win because Bill understands what it takes. And I think that's part of what's going to make Carolina incredible. It's hard to find. I'm a really, really good scout for Bill. I'm not sure I'm a good scout for other people.
It's clear that Carolina, as a university, has made a commitment to football. How can fans be a part of this? How can they make a commitment to be a part of what you guys are building?
Well, the best way they can make commitment is buy season tickets, come out and support the team. Obviously, if they want to donate to our NIL fund, the Rams Club, I think that's another way to make a commitment. I think to me, what we'll guarantee them is we will do everything in our power to win. We will do everything in our power to build this program to the highest level that it can achieve. And their support is really what starts it all. I think we've got to make Saturdays in September here in Chapel Hill, one of the most beautiful towns in the United States, a place to go. We've got to make Saturdays unique, and we've got to have a home field advantage that is more powerful than any other place in the ACC. That's important. And I think if we give them a product that they want to come see, they'll do that. I think the fan base wants great football on Saturday.
That's what I was going to ask you. Have you been here long enough to have a sense of how thirsty people are for some of the things you're talking about, even just in some of the kind of on-field stuff?
Yeah, I mean, look, Bill and I, it's funny, Bill and I came back here in 1992. We were both working in Cleveland. I think I shared this story with other people. I've said it on my podcast before when I was still on the media side. And we think this is a magical place. We wondered how you don't win here every year. I mean, this is just incredible. But what made it even more incredible, looking on the outside, is being on the inside and seeing some of the people that are willing to do whatever it takes to help your program, and they don't even know us. Is really a great feeling, and it's a tribute to Chancellor Roberts, to Bubba, to everybody here, and it's our job to give them the leadership that they need to keep fulfilling their job. I think that's the ultimate. And I think this is, look, we're in a world, football is the most popular sport, let's be clear, right? The top 20 television shows in America, 19 of them are football, right? So people want football. We just got to make them want Carolina football.